All right, good evening and welcome to Let's Fix Baseball on this Labor Day Eve. I'm with Jason Sherry, Scott Sherry, Andrew Fefer. My name is Joey. Two of these men are related. Two of these men have also known each other a very long time. You guys can figure out who is who, but thank you guys for being on the show tonight. So the idea is we all love baseball, but there's probably one or two things that each of us would change about the game. Not necessarily the game itself, but just how Major League Baseball maybe presents it or the game on the field. So tonight, each of us has been asked to choose two things that we're passionate about wanting to change. We're going to start with Scott tonight, then we're going to go to Jason, then Andrew, then myself, and then do it one more time. Anyone watching tonight is encouraged to comment about what we're saying, maybe add what you would change about baseball. We're thinking about going about 35, 40 minutes tonight. But I'm assuming since everyone has off, if we went to 2, 3 in the morning, that would be cool as well, right? Turn this into the Jerry Lewis. They don't do the Jerry Lewis telethon anymore, so I think we can claim that if we wanted to. Just
that is an available course or corner. Yeah, it's available a lot. Yeah,
we'll consider that for season 3, doing an all-nighter. I don't know what our cause would be, but we'll figure that out. So, without further ado, again, welcome, guys. Again, Andrew Fefer, Scott Cherry, Jason Cherry. My name is Joey. I'm wearing an Orioles hat because it matches my shirt. All right, so Scott, we're going to start with you tonight. One of the things that you think that you would want to fix about baseball is doing substitution limits a la the EPL. Now, explain what you were thinking, and for those, I don't really follow soccer. Tell us what the EPL is.
EPL is just English Premier League, and so the way that they set their rosters is they set who their starters are and who their available substitutions are for that day. They have a limit on that. They have a 20-man roster, but they can only and I might get this wrong now, but I think they can only name 15 players as far as substitutions. You know, you have your starting 11 and you have your 4 subs that you can have and things like that. So I think I think that's something wherein especially with baseball, you wouldn't be fundamentally changing the way the game is played. You would just be limiting the amount. You would be limiting the amount of changes, amount of substitutions, and then what you would also do is you would make those substitutions more high pressure, like high value. You would have to decide when you're going to make those substitutions. Like I was watching a little bit of the Dodgers and Giants before I came on. Yeah. It's the bottom of the second inning, and they were going to pinch hit for the pitcher in the bottom of the second. The Giants are going to pinch hit for their pitcher in the bottom of the second inning. You know, so it would for as far as baseball goes, it wouldn't fundamentally change the game. What it would do is you would have just a set number of people that you could play on that particular day, and then once you're out, I mean you're out. Like if you hit your last pitcher and everything like that, and he's getting shelled, then you're getting shelled. You know, so I think that's one of the things that would it would cut down on a lot of the righty lefty in like an 11-4 ball game, and it would also create more tension for when are you going to make the change. When are you going to make the change? Is this the appropriate time? And the other thing it's going to do too, like right now watching baseball, you have 4 pitchers who pitch, and they all come in with a super high spin rate, and they try to miss as many bats as they possibly can. And so what that would do is it would bring more strategic pitching back into the game. Things that you would see a little bit more of I'm going to go and throw 101 until I have to have Tommy John surgery, and then and you would what am I saying? You would have to be able to stretch your pitching out. You would have to make sure that switching when you're going to make a switch or make a change, that it's at an appropriate time. You can make that mistake, and then you're only left with what you have declared in that beginning lineup that you hand out. One of the things I would also think that I didn't put this in here that would be in tandem with that is that you would be allowed to bring one player back. If you took one player off, you'd be allowed to bring one player back, and that's it. And so I think it's a way to add more variance into baseball. I think that's really what we're trying. I really think that's what, from my point of view, is what needs to happen is like right now we're so focused on those 3 true outcomes as far as hitting goes and getting more variance into the game, getting more balls in play, and making decisions rather than it being based upon, like you go down the charts, like, okay, we pinch it, it's going to make these substitutions and things like that have a much higher value and much more dramatic effect.
So would the idea be for the player that you could bring back, would that only be in an injury situation, or would that also kind of add to the strategy?
It would add to the strategy. You have your starting 9, let's say you pinch hit for your right fielder and in the 4th inning or things like that, he could be one of your subs coming back later on in the game. So it would add more variance into the game and everything like that. As far as injury goes, my thing would be, I'm kind of it would be if you use all your substitutions and you got to play with 8, got to play with 8. So it's going to add a strategy where it brings. The other thing too is going to bring the manager back into the game, because right now I feel that everything is just charted. It is, you watch, literally see them flipping a notebook and everything like that. And so, or whatever the charts are, is bring the manager back into the game, make those decisions have a much higher value than what they're currently having.
I like it. What do you guys think? I see a lot of nodding. Andrew, Jason, your thoughts?
Go ahead, Jason.
I love it. I think to Scott's point, if you can say your game day roster, you can only address 10 position players and like 3 pitchers or something like that. A lot of guys come on. They talk about like not just the innings that you pitch, but the stress of the innings that you pitch, throwing all these breaking balls and things like that. Like nobody goes to the 4-seam fastball anymore. Nobody does, right? And Maddox will tell you he lived on the 4-seam fastball low and away. Establish the low and away corner, and then you can do anything you want. And he lived on it. And he didn't throw it, 95, 98 miles an hour. It was like an, 80, maybe high 80s, low 90s kind of deal. So, guys are going to have to pitch to contact. You're not going to be able to go up there and have, 14 pitch at bats and things like that. You're going to have to like give somebody something to hit and trust your fielders to play. You're going to have to hit the contact. So I love it. Like the left-handed specialists are going to go, these guys who are just like lightning quick on the base paths, but that's like pinch runner types are going to go. It just kind of makes me think like what would have happened in like the 2004 series when they pinched Dave Robertson for, who was it, Bill Miller? Yeah. I think when Miller drew the walk on Mariano, you're really going to have to think about what you're going to do. And I think Scott's right. You're going to have to. It brings the manager back in the game. Everything's charted. What's this guy's hit zone? What pitches does he have trouble with? Where's he going to hit it? The shift, all that other garbage. Like you're going to have to figure that shit out on the fly. So I love it. I'm a big fan.
What are your thoughts, Andrew?
I'm good with it in most situations. You were saying the limit would be 4?
I'm just guessing,
Okay. I think the one thing that would concern me is that, that rare situation where you have 5 guys on the same team in the same day get injured, or you have a team that's made substitutions and has a couple guys later in the game get injured and end up having to play with 8. Other than that, I mean, I love all of the points you made, really both of you made for it, because yeah, it really changes the strategy a little bit and kind of gets rid of a lot of the things that, slow down the game and that people have been pretty vocal in saying they don't like about baseball.
All right, well, Scott, I like the idea too. One of my least favorite things about baseball is when you watch a 9-inning game and see 15 pitchers. Like, you know what I mean? Use the same right fielder for a whole game, use the same first baseman for a whole game, but you're using 7 pitchers in the same game. Can you imagine if they used like 7 catchers or 7 shortstop? It just seems ridiculous at times. Like, I want to see 9 on 9. My 9 versus your 9 like they did 100 years ago. So I love it. Just for anyone watching right now, we have a lot of great ideas coming. We're going to get to those at the end of the show. So keep them coming. We'll try to get to as many as we can. But now we're going to move to Jason Sherry. His first idea is if you intentionally walk a batter, he gets 2 bases. So we're going to have Jason expound on this.
Oh yeah, this is great. I love it. And the reason why I was thinking about this is because statistically, it's better to walk Barry Bonds than it is to pitch to him. Like when Bonds was on fire, and for whatever reason, he was just a dangerous hitter, right? And so you're better off with the bases loaded to walk him as opposed to pitching to him. Screw that. If you're going to intentionally walk a guy, you're putting him in scoring position. Case closed. End of story. If you're like, I don't want to pitch this guy, great. Because he's such a dangerous hitter, or I want to get to the pitcher or something like that, whatever. Doesn't matter. 2 bases. Don't pitch it out. I don't need to see the catcher stick his arm out like this and jump out of the box and catch 4 straight. No, just like intentionally walk him, great. Go to second, big man. Love it. So that way, if the bases are loaded, you get to bases are loaded and you're pitching to Ohtani, you're pitching to Trout, you're pitching to Tatis Jr., and you intentionally walk them, that's 2 runs right there. Bang. Love it. I just love it. And especially thinking about it like in the postseason, right? Think of it if like in the postseason and you get a big time batter up to plate and the bases are loaded, or even if there's runners on second, third, and like first base is open, too bad, man. Pitch to them, because you either pitch to them or those 2 guys are scoring. Take your pick. So I love it.
What do you guys think? Let's go to Andrew. What do you think about this idea?
I kind of like that idea. It takes that out of the equation in a lot of situations, and really, it gives the team with the Barry Bonds type, with the Trout or Ohtani or Nelson Cruz or whoever, it gives them full benefit of having that power hitter in the position that they're in when the situation calls for it. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Scott?
I think it's great, especially in like those high value situations where, late innings or things like that. Because one of the things that, we'll probably get to this later on with baseball, is that it's one of the only games where you can just take a star out. You can walk, like if you want, you can walk Mike Trout 4 times. And that's not, as a fan, that's not what I want to see. I want to see Mike Trout, I want to see him. I want to see him in those high value situations. I want to see he's probably a bad example, but let's take a guy like Aaron Judge or things like that. How do they handle that pressure in that high value situation? More importantly, how does the pitcher handle that in the high value situations and things like that, where that you have second and third with 2 out, you just can't give that base away. You can't take that. I guess we want to say like a shortcut or things like that, because I think that's one of the things especially with baseball in the postseason and things like that, is that we want our stars. We want to see the stars, and you want to see them in those high value situations, and you want to see them hit. And now granted, does it happen all that often? No, but it happens enough wherein you just wish it's just like, God, I just have the first, I just want to see this guy hit in that situation. I want to see, one, if they can handle the pressure, and I want to see if the pitcher handles the pressure. That's what makes baseball great. Those high value, high risk at bats, things like that.
I actually love the idea. I have a similar idea where if you enter extra innings, any walk is 2 bases. That way, in those high pressure situations, 10th inning and on, you got to pitch to the guy. So the only concern I have with my idea would be it really puts the umpire in a position to really affect the outcome of games. If you're making it a 2-base error instead of 1, and there's a questionable call, that could end a game or that could end a series. I mean, I guess that could happen now too, but I think we're all in agreement that Jason's idea is really good. Let's get to Andrew Fefer.
Side note.
Yes.
Hold on. One thing. You mentioned the umpires. I just want to throw this out there just sort of as a bonus.
Sure.
Could we have like a pay-per-view of like Joe West and Angel Hernandez like boxing? Just because I tell you what, I think every baseball fan would buy it in a minute. Like, I just want to see it. It's going to be great.
As long as the loser is eliminated from baseball forever.
Yes. Yeah, like a loser leaves town match. Yeah.
There you go.
Let's do it.
Flair and Henning on Raw.
Yeah, tables, ladders.
So I just noticed it might start raining here in a second, so I might have to jump inside. But we're going to get to our third point of the night with Andrew Fefer. Andrew wants to talk about the runner on second in extras. Now, before I let Andrew start this, I actually assumed at first he didn't like it, but he likes the idea. So I'm going to let Andrew explain.
Yeah, and I may be totally off base here, pardon the pun, but my fear is that this goes away. My fear is that, Rob Manfred and the higher-ups in baseball decide this was kind of a test thing. They didn't really like it. It goes away. Maybe it stays, and I think it should. We're always talking about ways to speed up the game. That's seems to be the sticking point about why a lot of people don't like baseball. And I love it because it puts a lot more weight to, each half inning in extra innings. Extra innings it should be high pressure, high value situations, not just something that could go on 16 innings. I like to stay at games that I attend until a winner is declared. And I feel like that puts, the chances of a winner being declared sooner, more on the table. And so I hope it sticks around.
All right. Now, I take the other stance. I prefer just, starting the innings clean like we always have. My favorite game of all time, and you guys might think it's Game 6 of the 86 World Series. It's actually Game 6 of the 86 NLCS, which went 16 innings. Both teams scored, I believe, in the 14th. The Mets put 3 up in the 16th, 2 up or Astros answered with 2 in the 16th. I don't hate it as much as I did when it was announced because there have been some great finishes. But I will admit, Major League Baseball is getting what they wanted. We haven't seen too many 15, 16, 20 inning games. Right now they're going about 10 or 11. So I think it's here to stay. It's not one of the changes that I love, but I think I can grow to accept it. I'm interested to hear what Jason and Scott think here.
I like it just for in the regular season. In the regular season, I like it, and I don't think they're using it in the postseason. But I could be wrong. But in the regular season, I like it. Either that or just end it like, I know it sounds lame, but end in a tie. Like count ties and have run differential as like a tiebreaker or something like that. But the marathon, like the regular season game where you're burning through your pitchers and things like that, or the regular season game that, that's 15, 16, those rare 3 or 4, 15, 16, 17 inning games. I mean, it's just, the players will tell you they hate it. The fans hate it. I mean, unless you're just an absolute, lover of the game and everything like that, you're just eventually you just want to go home. Eventually you want to turn the TV off or you want to go home. So I think it's sort of been one of the positive changes and things like that to kind of get things through. And it's also created a strategy. And if you couple that with Jason's an intentional walk equals 2 bases, you're adding more value and stress to the time to both the pitcher and the hitter. And so anytime that you add more variance in, it's going to get away. You're going to get away from the three true outcomes style of thinking. Is going to add more variance. Anything that adds more variance to the game right now is going to make it a better watch.
Sure.
Yep. Scott, you stole my point because I was thinking like, okay, consider this threat. You've limited the number of options, your substitutions, right? And you start extra innings with a runner on second. Intentional walk is 2 bases, right? NLCS, Brewers, Dodgers, right? Burns is out. Hader pitched the 9th. We're tied. Coming up in the top of the 10th, starting runner on second. Bellinger's up to hit, right? Is Hader coming back in? You can't intentionally walk him. What are you going to do, right? And that's what you want to see, particularly in postseason baseball. That's that tension that you want. So that's like that tapestry, that full tapestry you see right there, where you're creating that all right, let's see if Hader can get a nasty slider past Bellinger, right? Let's see what's going on. And that's what you want to see. That's the kind of tension that you want to see. So I love keeping the runner on second. I know a lot of old-timey people hate it, and the other baseball Facebook group, boy, they hate me when I bring that up, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I admittedly I didn't like the idea, but I'm warming to it, and I just think as it becomes the norm, I think I won't think of it as even a change. It will just become something that we're kind of used to. There have been so many changes in baseball over the years that people don't realize the DH is still a relatively new thing. It was brought in like 1973, but Major League Baseball is 1876. So just in the last third of the history of baseball, it's one of the changes that's relatively new. Scott, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add to Jason's point, and we don't normally get along like this. I don't know what's going on. This is probably been the most cordial conversation we've had in years. But the only thing is, again, what Jason was getting at is you're making decisions harder, and anytime that if you make decisions harder and things like that, you're adding more variance. Again, I know you've used that word a million times. But so what does your manager do at this particular point in time? And it brings that particular element back into, and the other
the water cooler talk is what it brings back, is the water cooler talk, right? Yeah.
Well, the other thing is too, that it also does is it puts a lot of pressure on your third base coach too. When the Brewers had wave him home Kim, where he waved everybody home. He was always just like. But it's like anything else where the more nuance and everything like that there is, it's just gonna make the game better. And it's going to make the game better.
All right. Well, we'll try in the next 20 minutes or so to get something that you guys disagree on. But my topic, I don't think we're going to get a lot of disagreement on this. I would just like to see Major League Baseball have a more affordable product. Now, I'm all about a businessman getting as much money as he can, but if you want to create and keep fans for the next couple generations, you have to make going to a Major League Baseball game something that's not just a once a year thing or once every couple of years thing. I know people that are baseball fans that have never been to a Major League game because a decent seat is $60, parking's $20, concessions for a family of 4, we're looking at $80. If you want to get a hoodie, there's $100 right there. I mean, when I was a kid, I can get a general admission seat at County Stadium for $7, a bleacher seat for $4, parking was $5. You can get a hot dog for $2. What Major League Baseball fails to acknowledge is the amount of money they're getting from TV revenues and just the advertising that they're selling on social media platforms. That should be able to make the in-game experience a little bit more affordable. I'm not saying like we go back to 1990 prices, but like when they opened Yankee Stadium in 2009, anytime you watch the Yankees on television, the first 4 rows were empty because the face value on those tickets was $2,500. So I think we just need to get back to a point where I can take my family. I got mosquitoes all over the place here. I can take my family to a couple games a year, 2-3 games a year, and not have to take out a home equity loan or sell an organ to see a baseball game. So again, I don't know if we're going to get too many people that say no, they should keep raising the prices. I want to pay $40 for parking, but if you want to create and keep fans for the next 100 years, you got to figure out a way to get fans into those parks, seeing multiple games, bring in their friends, bring in grandma instead of leaving her at home, and just make it an affordable experience. Like the money is just ridiculous in baseball with the TV and everything going on there. Again, I'd be shocked if one of you three said no. I'm not paying enough for my ticket. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of this?
Here, I'll give the one dissent. I'll dissent on this just to give an argument.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Have you been to an NBA game?
I haven't been to an NBA game in 20 years. 2001 was my last NBA game.
If you think baseball is expensive, you should try an NBA game. And here's where I'm going with this. So stick with me. I'll bring it home here in a second. This is just to take an opposite opinion. Okay, going to an NBA game is a small fortune. But here's the deal. My son is 10. He wants to go to an NBA game. He doesn't like if I come across Brewers tickets or anything like that, he's pretty lukewarm on it. And here's the reason why is because the NBA creates stars and they market their stars and they let their stars be stars in star situations. And if baseball were to, again, like my son should have a poster of Shohei Ohtani on his wall next to Giannis. He should. There's no reason why like Ohtani or Trout or even like a guy like Max Scherzer or something like that, like an awesome pitcher. These guys who are just destroying the game, trying to. He should have those posters next to his Giannis. And that's the only thing I can say about if you want to create fans, especially from the younger fans. Yes, the affordable fan experience. No one's going to be like, oh man, I really hope my beer goes from $11 to $14 this year. It's more of, I think one of the things on top of that, if baseball wants to continue to grow with the younger generation, is that they have to appeal to that kind of star making, which they've never done, except for unless you're like an unbelievable player.
Unless you're New York, you got pinstripes. You got pinstripes. Yeah.
Yeah, pinstripes. Then yes, then 100%. Or even with like I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's only New York. I was trying to think like maybe like if you were really good for the Cubs, but that's it. So I think. Just on top of that, if they want to attract somebody like my son who's 10, they got to let their stars be stars. My son will be one. He should want like his Fernando Tatis Jr. baseball cards. He should be looking. That's a little bit of a dissent, minor dissent, like not a dissent, but just kind of building on top of. So.
Yeah, like one of my issues with baseball is if Mike Trout and I walked into the same mall in Wisconsin, I don't know how many more people are going to recognize Mike Trout than myself. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I don't think Major League Baseball markets their stars the way the NBA or the NFL does, where everyone knows LeBron, everyone knows Tom Brady. You know what I mean?
One of the coolest moments in like the last 5 years, Jose Batista's bat flip.
Yeah,
That was one of that, like against the Rangers. That was like one of the, like that gift. Just, I loved watching that because that was like the biggest like FU moment. Like, we need more bat flips. We need, think about like Joe Carter, right? When him running around the bases after hitting that walk off in Game 6, right? Just the joy that guy had. Like, we need more of that. But no, it's like you hit a home run. It's like, ooh, don't show up the pitcher. Screw that. Show up the pitcher. Just give it to him. Give it to him right in his mug. Say, I got you. Need more of that.
It's a good thing that 19 because if I could hit the ball as far as Fernando Tatis Jr. could, everybody would know about it. The entire stadium.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. I'd stand next to the box and just be like, get a hold of that one.
Yeah, exactly. But that's
what are your go ahead.
Joey, I completely agree with you as far as attracting. Here's just another thing. Having young children. Having Dominic, my son. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have used his name, but that's out now. But having a 10-year-old and everything like that, the Brewers have a kids club and everything like that. He was saying when he was younger, like, unless you go looking for it, you don't find it. And like my wife will talk about, she's like, yeah, I was in the Pepsi Brewers fan club when I was, like they had those kinds of things. And I don't know, how
the reach out isn't real good.
Sure. Reach out. And the other thing is too is like, and I'm getting off my soapbox here for a second and everything like that. But like, my son plays youth sports and things like that. And what my son's a hockey player. Okay. And so what they'll do are, they'll have like a sort of a coordination with the admirals and things like that. And they'll have admirals come to their practices and run their practices and things like that. If not necessarily Major League Baseball or things like that, but through like the minor leagues, having some people from the Timber Rattlers or things like that come to, or the Snappers, or come to like a little league practice. Like those kids they literally just melt seeing that, seeing the professional players, So I think it needs to be a coordinated effort throughout the entire baseball organization, from the majors to the minors, all the way down through, to reach out to the younger generation. I think that's
Any thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah, I like it, and mostly because I'm coming from the perspective of the guy who doesn't live in the Milwaukee metro, who doesn't live in the Twin Cities. So along with all that expense, I got to think about the hours of driving out there. And if you want to talk about, attracting kids to it, yeah, my son is 9, and to get him to ride in the car for an hour and a half to go to Target Field to see a game he doesn't, not particularly interested in, at least, until he gets there, and then you add all the money on top of it. Yeah, that's, that's going to strain his chances of really enjoying baseball. And the other thing is, man, these clubs are building a lot of new stadiums. Gone are the days, if you're not in Boston or Chicago, of these stadiums lasting decades and generations. This money that's been thrown into all these stadiums, obviously you're getting it. So if you get a little less of it, maybe we have more historic stadiums, a little more bang for our lack of bucks, if you want to, call it that.
That's a good point. I mean, like, we're getting to a point now where like Miller Park is like one of the, or whatever they're calling it now these days, is one of the older parks in the league now, because like I think Texas has a new stadium. They opened one in '94. They have a new one already. Atlanta opened one in '99. They have a new one already. So like, how far away are we from American Family Field's replacement? What, 10, 15 years based on what we're seeing?
I think it's sooner. I think it's sooner. I think it's sooner.
I do too.
It's going down next to the Fiserv Forum. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I actually agree. I actually agree with that. I think it's going to happen. I would say within about 10 years or so. All
Yeah,
right. So we're
5, 10
gonna
years, I think, somewhere in there.
yeah. So we're going to go to Scott's second idea tonight. Scott Cherry thinks that if the defenses shift, that they should get an automatic count of 2-0. So I want to hear Scott and then hear Jason's rebuttal on this, and then Andrew and I will chime in.
Okay, I'll start with this. This was my wilder of the two ideas. I figured I'd throw one out there that was pretty out there. But I think we see so much of the defensive shift against lefties, and just because. So again, to bring like variance back into variance value, I think put a shift on. You have to declare the shift prior to the first pitch, and then if you do shift, then you have the batter, the left-handed batter should have some sort of recourse against it. And so what it would do is it would again bring strategy back into the game, wherein it's like, okay, we have Shohei Ohtani up. Do we shift against him? Do we shift against do we take the chance of giving him a very, very good hitter's count, almost a certain fastball count, with that first pitch and things like that. So it would again it brings more decision making back into the game, and it lessens the punishment to the batter for like those defensive shifts and things like that. So I could be talked into 1-0 too. So
Jason, your thoughts?
I just worry that it would just lead to more walks. That's how people want. So in tackling this, my radical idea on something like this would be, okay, if each team only has 27 outs, if you're going to shift, you're going to cost your team an out. So the next inning, you start with 1 out.
Oh God, nobody would never get a shift ever. I'm
See?
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but yeah, like that, you would never have.
No, I look at it like from an inside standpoint. How are you going to disincentivize this, right? Like, all right, you can shift, but if you're going to get this out, it's going to cost you an out down the road. And so that's how I look at it.
Andrew?
I guess a question I'd have to start out would be, what constitutes a shift? Are we going to start marking up the field with like fielder boxes for the second baseman, the shortstop, the third baseman, first baseman? If so, and you can kind of regulate it like that, because players and managers are going to bend the rules as much as they can until they get caught. There's got to be some kind of regulation there. So I guess conditionally, yeah, I'm okay with the 2-0 count. I don't know about penalizing them a full out, but yeah, I think they're going to have to start marking up the field to truly ensure that a shift is not being made.
I think you can make. I'm sorry. I think you can make like a line, almost like a spray line or things like that. Wherein like if you're the shortstop must have at least 1 foot in this behind this particular line. Second baseman, same thing. I just think nobody likes it. No one's like, oh man, this shift is so awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the shortstop catch a line drive that probably would have been a double or a triple. This is great. No one likes it. It's just it. I mean, I get it. The mathematician in me totally understands it. Like the sports fan in me hates it. Hates everything about it. Everything about it.
I feel like I'm in the minority here because I'm all for shifting. I never liked it when in baseball, if the defense figures out a way to combat high offensive numbers, that we have to immediately penalize the defense or the pitching, like when we lowered the mound and this and that. I'm okay with the shift. I'm one of what Jason calls these old timey fans that say, bunt, take that single. Like if they're shifting, hit the other way.
Oh.
I know it's harder. We have our first real tension here on the show. I know it's harder because everyone's throwing 100 and cutters and sliders and this and that, but like I grew up with Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew, George Brett, Robin Yount, guys that knew how to work a 0-2 count, 1-2 count, foul off 6-7 pitches if they need to, get theirs. Like, you know, the whole point of working a count is that the guy's going to eventually make a mistake, and then you can take advantage of it. So I'm all for the shift. By the way, and Jason knows this too, shifting is not new to Major League Baseball. They were shifting on Ted Williams 70 years ago. And Ted Williams was just stubborn and said, I'm not going to change. Ted Williams could have been a lifetime 380 hitter instead of, 344, but instead of hitting it the other way, he would just hit 521 homers. So I'm okay with the shift. I don't want to see them penalize the defense for it, because I think there's enough of that in sports where, once the scoring or once the defense actually has a little bit of advantage, the league immediately wants to take it away. Like NFL does it. Now it's, every team's putting up 30 a week. The NBA right now, we're at a point where everyone's putting up, 125 a night, it seems. So I guess I'm in the minority, but, it's not something that, if they made a change, I wouldn't be too upset about. But I don't know. It just, part of me just wants the game I love from the 80s to kind of come back.
The one thing I would say, though, is that with the proliferation of shifting has also come the proliferation of, burning through 4 or 5 pitchers a game. And so when we talk about like our contact hitters from the past, the guys we loved watching who just placed the ball, they figured they got 3 or 4. Tony Gwynn got 3 or 4 chances at it before during a game, wherein now, like, anytime that he came up in any type of a high value situation, he's getting the left-handed specialist. He's getting the Josh Hader, the things like that. He's getting Ray King. I'm sorry, that's an old one. But if anybody remembers Ray, it's and I agree with you, in Joey, and just that you want to see more of more of the movement, the more of the strategic hitting and things like that. So I mean, it's one of those. I think really everything. At this point is just there. It's all intertwined with like trying to get the ball in play, just coming up with thoughts on how to get the ball in play more. How to get more contact that doesn't result in a 450-foot home run. So.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to topic number 6. Jason wants to see women in the major leagues, co-ed baseball. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this. We'll let Jason make his point, and then we'll take it.
So I'll call this the reintegration of baseball, or the new integration of baseball. I think that when you look at sort of the history of sports, as the talent pool expands, the play gets better. So like when baseball integrated, the play got better. When baseball reached out to Latin players, the play got better. When baseball reached out to, the Asian players, they got better. When basketball integrated, they got better. When basketball went to overseas, they got better, right? So I see baseball, we've got, we have our African-American players, we've got our Latinx players, we've got our Asian players. I think, and I was reading, it's kind of coincided with an article I was reading about how girls kind of get to a certain age when it comes to baseball, and then they're kind of told, you go to softball or you get out. It's like, why not let them play the game they love? Deepen the talent pool. What are you really afraid of if a woman can go up there, grab themselves, a nice, turned piece of ash and just crank one out, out over the center field fence, or slap one, to the third base side if she's a left-handed hitter and they pull a shift on her, right? So it's like, why not? Deep in the talent pool, let them in. There's no reason why women shouldn't be able to play baseball. I mean, my God, 90% of baseball is standing around anyway. So, like, if they can run, they can catch, they can throw, they can hit. If you're a 5-tool player, who cares? Go play baseball.
Again, I don't think you're going to find anyone in this panel that disagrees. One point I want to make before I kick it to Scott and Andrew is that just like when they integrated with Jackie Robinson in 1947, there actually is no written rule that says women can't play. They just haven't been drafted yet. They haven't been scouted, but there's no rule that says they can't. When Jackie Robinson was signed in 1947, there was no official rule that says African Americans can't play. It's just they can.
Right, but in 1947, I mean, there were a lot of sort of unwritten rules that were out there that everybody kind of followed, and like sort of the unwritten rule is that in all sports is that you must separate the sexes, and I don't know that that's always the case, and I don't think baseball it is the case. You look at somebody like Jenny Finch when she was on the mound, when she was pitching, I don't care if she throws it overhand or underhand. If she can whip one by you and get Barry Bonds out, more power to her.
Sure, and I actually think we'll see a woman player in the NBA before we would see one in Major League Baseball, and potentially even a place kicker in the NFL. I think there's someone right now in Division 1A that actually is having success as a pitcher in the NCAA. What do you think, Andrew?
I think do this tonight. Don't wait. Do this tonight. My favorite sport is bowling. Joey knows it well. I do a live show about it. In about the early 2000s, maybe 16, 17 years ago, the women's tour folded. It just ended. And they didn't bring it back for many years. And what happened was there were women who competed in men's events, in traditional PBA events. And the result of that is 2 women have won national titles, bowling against men predominantly. And it's been an incredible thing. It's been a great celebration of, pure talent and ability. And I think, by and large, in 2021, that I care about is celebrating talent and ability. So, yeah, do it now.
Anything to add, Scott?
No, I've got. And the one point I will make that Jason brought up about when women are younger, they got to move the softball and things like that. It's again. We talk about base. We're talking about Major League Baseball. We talk about baseball as a whole, and so then that if it's going to be okay at the highest level, if someone's going to make it to the highest level, it's got to start in like the youth leagues, the travel teams, the AAU teams. The college baseball, minor leagues, and things like that. So it's one of those things wherein baseball has to, as an entirety, has to look at itself and say, we should be doing this. How do we do this? That's what what we need. That's what needs to happen. And it's just, and anybody who spends a little time around youth sports knows that it's maybe not the most progressive thinking of association, but I think it's such a simple thing. It's such a simple thing. Just make it work.
Yep. All right, so we're going to get to everyone's comments here shortly. We got 2 more points before we get to everyone's comments. Andrew's second bullet point tonight. He's not a fan of the 7-inning doubleheaders. I don't like them as well. Andrew, tell us why you don't like the 7-inning doubleheaders.
At first I was on board with this. I figured, hey, it would speed things up. Everybody, it's the same for everybody. What's the harm? And then Madison Bumgarner happened. And, cheering for a team that somehow has only had 1 no-hitter in their history, this makes it even less likely that I will get to see another Brewers no-hitter. I just don't like it because you end up with different types of games that are counted the same way in the bigger picture. It quickly went from making a lot of sense to me to making no sense. So yeah, let's get rid of that.
Jason?
I don't like the 7-inning doubleheaders either. I really don't. They're just dumb. It's a different game. You know what? If you want to do doubleheaders, do a doubleheader. And you know what? Schedule it on a weekend. Make weekend doubleheaders a thing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to talking about like making baseball more accessible, more affordable, have doubleheader passes, right? Where like if you buy a seat, that's your seat. You don't have to pick either game. You can go, you can leave, come back, whatever. Just don't. Oh my good Lord, 7-inning doubleheader. This is just a terrible idea. I hate it.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, because I'll just take a dissenting view just to keep the conversation flowing. The only reason that I foresee it, is a little bit of a positive thing is that you're not the way that the game is played now. You're not putting that much more strength. Sorry, I can't even do it. No, I hate it. Sorry, I can't even do it. I tried so hard, but no, it's like the thing is like taking two innings off a game isn't going to solve your speed problem. It's not going to solve your contact problem. It's not going to solve your decision-making problems. It's not going to solve any of that other stuff. The game itself, I think the four of us are talking is because the game itself, we all love the game. At some point, we may love it a little bit less than what we maybe did at one point, but we love the game. And so the thing is like the seven inning is a fundamental change to the game that just it doesn't make sense. Now, if you were to tell me you could end the game at ties, if you were to tell me you could do ties and you keep like a run differential or things like that, I could get on board with that, where you play 9 innings in the regular season, they're ties. I could get on board with that. I could definitely get on board with that, and you keep run differential as a tiebreaker for anything. I could definitely get on board with that. But like the 7-inning doubleheader is just it's just not smart.
Yeah, I don't like them at all. I don't like them at all. One of the things, one example of the reason I don't like it, the Mets and Nationals earlier in the year had a game suspended. They played like 2 innings. It was tied. They said we're going to make it up later in September. Mm-hmm. The announcers on TV, because they made it up the day of another game, so the suspended game technically had to go 9 because it started as a 9-inning game. They had to finish it as a 9-inning game. And then the second game was 7 innings. The announcers were confused on the air as to if this was a 7 or a 9-inning game. When they got to the 7th, they're like, is this the last inning? It's a doubleheader, so this should be a 7-inning game. And they had to clarify the next half inning was because it was a suspended game that started as a 9-inning game. They have to finish it as a 9-inning game. So I just think it just adds confusion to it, and I don't see it. I don't see it sticking around for next year.
Imagine late stage Harry Carey trying to call that game.
Oh,
no.
He's got he's a dozen Budweisers. How many innings are in the game?
Steve Stone would have had to totally carried him on that.
He would have stolen the air. Yeah. All right, our final point tonight. Before we get to the comments, I like to talk about TV presentation. In general, I know one of the things that Major League Baseball is concerned about is length of game, trying to get under 3 hours. One of the reasons that games are 3 hours is you're adding 2 minutes to every half inning for advertisements. Why couldn't they have, like when my mom watches Friends in syndication, they don't even have commercials between episodes. They have the closing credits in the bottom of the corner of the screen. The second episode is starting as the first one is ending. So when they go like at the end of the bottom of the first, when they're transitioning to the top of the second, instead of selling 2 minutes of ads and then going to the top of the second, just have your ads in the corner you can do that. I mean, I've seen TBS and Fox, they'll advertise for a show while another show is on. So, I mean, you're talking, if you can trim that from 2 minutes to 45 seconds, a minute, now you've already trimmed 18 minutes off a game that way. Plus, and this isn't an anti-Joe Buck thing, but I'm not a big fan of his. I'm tired of Fox's presentation. They've been doing this now 25 years. I miss NBC. I miss ABC. I want better presentation on TV. I also want, again, coming back to the point of building new fans, creating new fans, it shouldn't just be about the game on the field. I think they have to do a better job educating a younger viewer as to what is happening strategically, not just, oh, they're making a pitching change here or they're pinch hitting here. Why are they doing that? Why is that strategy built into baseball? I don't think TV presentation does a very good job teaching the game. Maybe that's not what their role is supposed to be, but when I was a kid, TV presentation was great. Vince Scully, Joe Garagiola, Tony Kubek, Bob Costas. It felt like an event. Like, you knew every Saturday at noon or 3 o'clock there was a game on NBC. Now, I don't even know if Fox even has Saturday games anymore. I know FS1 does games. I know TBS does games randomly, but they need to get back to like a strongly branded television product, not just regionally, but on a national level. And I want to hear what you guys think.
I'll go first, because like the Bally's presentation here locally blows. It is so bad. Well, here's the other thing too. If you talk about like we're old guys, we're gonna watch it on TV. That's just the way it goes. We're watching it on TV. My son's more apt to watch it on an iPad or some sort of device. It's just the way it is. And so there are two things. Like when you're talking about like the ads and things like that, Joey, they can do it like what the golf does, like during the Masters, where they'll show they can show the over on the side and do their advertising there. That's actually a really, really, really good idea. And I know soccer does that. I mean, not to bring it back to something completely unrelated. Soccer does that. Other sports have been doing that as well and things like that. And so, and those ads, yeah, if you can scrape 18 minutes off a game, by all means do it. But as far as like the presentation, like as far as it being like an event and things like that, it was because we didn't have as many options. Like I can get my son to sit down and watch some baseball with me and things like that. We'll watch a little bit of it, but he has 50 other options all at his fingertips and everything like that in order to go to. But yeah, I mean, I'll go back to it. Bally's locally blows. It none of it's good. The app is terrible. The app is. That's the thing, when I was on vacation, if I wanted to check in and maybe watch a game, you could get the app, but it doesn't work. It's not good and everything. So it's not only creating a TV presence, but also maintaining a broadcast presence over other mediums and things like that, because that's really where you're gonna get to. Like the younger generation and stars. Who's your stars? Everybody should know your stars. So,
Jason?
I feel like Fox's baseball presentation is like its football presentation. Like they picked up its football presentation and dropped it into like its baseball presentation. Everything's like, super graphic, like whoosh and sound effects and all this stuff. So it's like, it's not baseball. I'm sorry. It's not. I mean, football, there's like this masculinity that kind of goes along with it where you're just, revved up and you want to see that big hit, that big run, that big play. Baseball is very much a passive sport. It's more, to me, it's more closer to chess than football really is, right? Sure. So like dropping like the Fox presentation on it is just bad. It's just a bad idea. And then like, I don't know this for a fact, but I just think that this is true. Baseball probably does a really shit job with its mobile experience. Because like if I was a player or like a kid, I'd be like, with the next pitch, I'd be like, what do you think you should throw him? And then you would select it, and it would say, well, in these situations, here's this guy's history of what he did in the past, or here's this player, here's his bio, here's some great things he did. Oh, look, you can click on here, go to his highlight, that kind of thing. Like, look at what this guy did. There's the integrated mobile experience while this passive stuff is going on. Like I could see a kid doing where like you start looking up different players and then getting highlights, and then you learn the history of the game, and then you say, oh, in Fenway Park, this seat is painted red. Do you know why the seat is painted red? Boom, and you get it. It goes the old black and white footage of Ted Williams hitting 521. That kind of stuff, and then you get integrated into the history of the game. I don't know it for a fact, but I suspect it to be true that baseball's mobile experience, just as a whole, is garbage, and Fox has to do something different other than its football effects, than porting football effects to its baseball presentation. I don't know. It's my thought.
I actually agree with everything you just said there, Jason. There needs to be a better overall presentation of the game in all the medias, TV, social media. Even the utilization of MLB Network needs to be better than just telling me who homered and who got the win and who got the save. Guys, we've hit an hour, so we're in extra innings right here. I want to thank Jason Cherry, Scott Cherry, Andrew Fefer for joining me tonight in Let's Fix Baseball. I was expecting maybe 3 or 4 comments tonight. We got about 40, so I can't possibly go through all of them here, but I'm just going to highlight a couple of them here. Facebook user says, easy fix, Homer is an out, force the professionals to learn to hit again. I don't know about that, but it's interesting. So another person says, I'd rather see a streamlined pitching change. Right now they warm up, manager slowly walks out, conversation, slow walk. They should just signal to the ump, pitcher is already warmed up, pitcher runs out like John Rocker, batter up, let's go. I mean, we could have used a better example than John Rocker, but
please.
How about Todd Coffee?
Yeah, if there's any
there you go, coffee.
Todd Coffee. Yeah.
I don't think they want a benefit of doing nothing, runner on second, force batters to swing, force pitchers to throw strikes. That is baseball. Let's see. Leave the shift and teach hitting bunting like a pro. It's high school learning tools for the love. Go the other way. When I was growing up, the difference between a minor leaguer and a major leaguer was the ability to go to the opposite field.
I want that guy to stand in and bunt against the roll.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's what I want that guy to do.
Yeah.
He does that, fine. He can hang out of that comment. Otherwise, get out of here. That's weak sauce. Garbage. Get that out of here.
Someone says 7 innings is for 12-year-olds. Ernie Banks is pissed. Well, Ernie Banks has been dead for a long time. So he's pissed.
The ghost of Ernie Banks is like,
yeah. I can't believe how often I want stats that are never presented on TV, season, career splits. Yeah, mobile is key. So a lot of great comments tonight. If you guys want to check out all the comments, they're going to be on here. Again, I want to thank Jason, Scott, and Andrew for doing the show tonight. I'm sure we'll do more of these in the future. Everyone tune in tomorrow for the Utopian Cafe at 7 a.m. with Stan Phillips. I'll be on Baseball A Way of Life at 7:30. And Andrew, as always, tell us when the next Bowling with the Fef can be seen on YouTube.
Yeah, on the 8th, on Wednesday, we have Brunswick Tour Rep Chuck Gardner. Should be a great conversation.
All right. Jason, do you want to plug anything?
Awesome. Nope, not at all.
All right. Scott, any last words?
oh, no, none.
All right, guys. I had a lot of fun talking baseball tonight. We had, one near fight, but I think it was all done in good fun. Thanks for helping us try to fix baseball tonight, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Everyone have a great night. This is Joey. Have a great night, everybody.
Yep, take it easy.
All right, take care.
Be back. Bye.